Hey, this is John Lee Dumas, the founder and host of Entrepreneurs on Fire. And if you're wanting to learn how to embrace change and navigate through disruption as a leader, then listen to the Leadership is Changing podcast with my good friend, Denis Gianoutsos. He's prepared to ignite.
Welcome to Leadership is Changing. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change. This is taking your leadership to another level by finding the balance between executive excellence and personal well-being through stories that inspire real change. It's time to adapt in our fast-moving world when leadership is changing with your host, Denis Gianoutsos.
Sure, love to. I'm also an author of 2 best-selling books on Amazon. One is Money Secrets, Keys to Smart Investing, and the other is Retirement Secrets, Keys to Retiring Happy, Healthy, and Free.
Wow, retirement. I work with quite a lot of people around their career transitions and coaching them in that. And one of the things we talk about is active retirement. Do they want to do something? They go, I'm too young for that. What do you mean? I'm not going to retire yet. So that's pretty cool that you've written those 2 books. What was the process of writing books for you? What was that like?
When you think about it, many people want to be writers, right?
Yeah.
Or authors.
Yeah.
I think all of us are writers in one way or another. But I knew I would be an author for easily 10 plus years before anything materialized. And I realized I was just talking about it and not doing. And one day I was like, get off your butt and finish this. And so I was supposed to be somewhere traveling and I ended up not going. And at the time we had a treehouse in our backyard. And I went up to the treehouse, brought the electricity through and wrote that first book in 5 days.
In 5 days?
5 days. Now remember, writing is one thing, but getting it to the marketplace is a different. It probably took another 1.5 years after that before it hit the market. But once I finally set my mind to it, it was just flowed through me. And that was the investment book. That's Money Secrets.
Yeah, awesome. And that flow through you. Tell us more about that. What do you mean by that?
I think getting myself out of the way.
Yeah.
And Money Secrets, it pulls back the curtain on the financial services industry to reveal why smart people make bad investment mistakes. And so there's evidence, there's research around this, there's data. And so for me to bring in the research and then remove myself from it and actually talk story as it relates to how our firm works, and how to be successful around how to hire an advisor, how to fire an advisor, what to look for. Because remember, in the nature of financial services, at least in the United States, 90% of them are in sales in the brokerage world. They're not your advocate. And so I, 15 years ago, was on that side of the coin and actually left. I was a fish out of water. I have a legal background and a financial background, and everything that was in front of me was a disconnect. It didn't resonate with me at all because it was a sales model, the sales funnel. And so I left and created my own firm, and really an independent fiduciary firm where clients truly are first, not last, and putting humanity back into the center. And so it's a small giant of a firm that meets the clients where they are and actually takes them through, like what you said with retirement.
Yep.
When do you do it? How do you do it? You can have all the money in the world and have a failed retirement. So the Retirement Secrets book actually is more of a lifestyle book. It's how do you survive and thrive once you step off? So it's really being in other types of things. And that has a lot of client stories in it too, in terms of successes and failures. So I love that book because it's really more personal and lifestyle, not so much, even though money is a little bit of it, more lifestyle.
And good for you and I. We don't have to worry about that book for many years. We've got many years ahead of us, which is all good.
That's exactly right, Dennis.
Yeah. And I like what you say about get out of your own way, because I think even from a leadership perspective and people in business and whatever they're doing today, small to large corporates and so forth, they do need to get out of their own way. And I think a lot of people procrastinate in what they're doing. And I think it's very important. But I love what you just shared there, how to survive and thrive when you step off the corporate ladder or you're stepping off that rat race, if I want to put it that way, and what we're doing, depending on what you want to do, right? What is your life and what's going on for you, but stepping off and how you survive and thrive. I think that thriving piece is really cool. You've been working your life. Wasn't it time to go and have some fun and enjoy it?
It's really interesting because for many, they're just working for money and they're not doing their passion like you are right now with your podcasting. And so when you finally step off and you have the bandwidth, if done correctly in terms of integrating financial planning with investments, You have the bandwidth to go managing money, no worries, goal setting, no worries, but peace of mind, you got to have it first before you can get to fulfillment. If you were looking at a pyramid, and fulfillment's at the top of that pyramid. So you may, for the first time in your life, have the bandwidth to actually think about who you are, what's your purpose and passion, and how do you want to take this next 30 years of your life or more.
Or more, yeah. And people are living longer, which is definitely happening as well. And okay, good to know. So your business that you talked about there, so you started your own business and so forth. And so do you have employees today? Do you have a team around you? How big is that? How's that going for you?
Yeah, how's it going as we are nearing almost 2 years of pandemic? It's interesting. Like I said, we're a forward-thinking boutique firm that's a small giant in the industry in the United States. So I have smart, talented people, young people all around me that are easy to adjust and change with what we've gone through in the last 18, 19 months. So for us and for our clients, if you have your technology in place way before the pandemic, that it was easy for us on March 20th to go remote, then all of our energy went to managing our clients. And think of how stressful that was during that time. Their whole world got taken out from under them, not only in the short term regarding their money, but also in the longer term of what does that mean? They can't see their grandchildren or, everyone has a story around the loss or the expectations that were changed.
Yeah. It was amazing actually, because just for our listeners, whereabouts are you in the world today? You're in the US, is that correct?
Yes, I am in the US in the state of Colorado.
Yeah, cool. And I'm in New Zealand. So it's amazing how we're doing this. Even when we're into lockdown too, it was just amazing to see how everyone's going through it. And then watching some programs that I actually do follow some people around and seeing them doing really well in business and property and that in the United States. And then all of a sudden, as you said, their world was stopping, things were being pulled underneath them, and just like how they freaked out about it or how they handled it. But their mindset is really positive. Like they're high performers. And then just to see them start to struggle, wobble, I was like, here we go. And it came down to, I think, a lot of people going, stop. I need to really think about things I'm getting, media, so forth, and start to think about where I want to go. Otherwise, it's going to drive me crazy. I'm going to have problems here.
Absolutely. Huge pivot and reset for the lion's share of the world population.
Happy to be here, man. Excited to be here. Two different worlds colliding from New Zealand and America.
Yeah, fantastic. Hey, I've just given our listeners a little bit of background about you. Is there anything else you'd like to share about your background?
Not much. I'm happy to be here, and I'm an entrepreneur at heart and grew up as an entrepreneur, and 20 years later, still starting companies. And I think last night I had a major idea on a new NFT project that I took to my team yesterday. And of course, they mainly get upset at me because it's another ideas company we have to start, but I'm an entrepreneur at heart, so I love every minute of it.
And so those ideas, do they come through often from you?
They, unfortunately or fortunately, however you look at it, a lot of times they do. I have learned throughout the years how to decipher and kind of filter those. A lot of times you can get shiny object syndrome and chase different things too often. And where I'm at now, obviously it changes as you get bigger and bigger into companies, business. But you think about it right now is going into leadership even a little bit here is learning as a leader of a team, which decisions to make that have massive potential and which ones, yes, you could make something off of. Yes, you could do something, but what is it going to cost your staff, your team, your employees? What's the ripple effect of that as a leader just to go do this other thing? So there's definitely a process and a filter I have to go through now as I've grown.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I find that there's a lot of people out there, entrepreneurs, leaders, and that they procrastinate and they don't get on with something, or they're the other end whereby, as you said, the shiny thing, they're on to the next thing and they don't finish something, or they don't have the team behind them to clean up and actually bring it to life.
Yeah.
What's one or two thoughts or one or two things you might suggest to people who are procrastinating in something or that they have too many shiny things? What should they do?
Yeah, obviously those are two different ends of the spectrum, right? And it's really, I would tell people, I think it's just part of your DNA. I don't think it's necessarily something that's negative or bad. It's just kind of who you are. And there's all kinds of tests and stuff that you can take to try to clarify stuff for you. But for me, I'm a person that needs very little, what's called information to actually make a decision. I can look at the idea, the vision, and the concept, and I'm willing to make a decision on that, which is great because I can move fast and I'm willing to move quick on a topic. Negative is if you're not careful, you'll get into shiny object syndrome and you'll start chasing things because it's there's new, especially when you're young and you're just starting into it because everyone will get a great idea. So the advantage is you're quick, but you're also double-edged sword. You can make a lot of bad decisions, jumping in too many things at one time. To that person, I would say, find out of all the little ideas that are coming through, put the filters in place. And one of the filters that I always start with right now in business is, do I actually love this thing? Do I enjoy this concept? If I went and built this, it's not about money. Would I actually enjoy doing this? I think a lot of entrepreneurs get caught, and even leaders get caught in doing something they don't like because they started to go down a path. And even though they may find financial success, they're still not happy with what they're doing. On the flip side of it would be analysis paralysis side, which is where you have to have all the details and all the information to make a decision. And there's, again, double-edged sword there, but those people struggle a lot of obviously just getting anything off the ground because there's no way as a leader, you're going to always have all the information. It doesn't exist. You're having to use your gut and sometimes make educated guesstimates with as much data as you can get, but there's always going to be that X factor. And for people that are too engineered, wired, they have to have every X and O attached. They struggle a lot in making decisions in entrepreneurship as well as leadership, of course.
There you go, listeners. You've heard it. What a start to the episode. Crikey. At the end of it, what I'm hearing from both sides of that kind of scenario there, Andrew, is make a decision. Whether you procrastinate, make a decision. It's never going to be perfect. And then on the other side, if it's a shiny thing, make a decision, but have those filters as well. So pretty cool. Very good. Hey, look, I asked this question here and some people think about, what is this thing? And it is, how did you get into leadership?
More of a natural process. I think in my opinion, I think leaders, a couple things here, and I'll go a little bit philosophical here with you. I think leaders are born. I think there's something that's inside of them that it's a natural instinct for them. However, great leaders, I don't believe ever look for the leadership roles. They just do what they do. And part of a great leader is knowing how to make decisions, what we just talked about. And because people in a broad stroke struggle with making decisions, it naturally, leaders who can make decisions have learned how to filter or program themselves to be able to make decisions, kind of naturally rise to the top inside of corporations and so forth because they're willing to make decisions. So I think great leaders, I think a lot of leaders are born. Now, I'm not saying that you can't even become a leader, but there is a difference between a naturally talented leader and then a leader that has read, studied, listened, and became a leader. And then, of course, the best leaders are the ones that are naturally born. And then they spend time reading, listening, study, and sharpening that sword, if you will, to a gift that they have to become a leader. So for me, leadership was as an entrepreneur, as my companies grew, it put me in a natural role where I had to be willing to make decisions and became a leader, basically.
What's up, you guys? I'm glad you're tuning in. So what's interesting is I didn't really want to be an entrepreneur like right away. Like when I started pursuing my career outside of like college, I was like, okay, I'm gonna be a fireman. And so I didn't get into entrepreneurship right away. And what's interesting is the reason why I chose fire was because my grandfather was in fire. And I was like, you know what, this could be a good career I could choose. I could stay in shape. I could earn a good income, provide for my family. But what's interesting is after I was in that, after 6 years, as I realized I couldn't see myself doing that for the next 20 years of my life. And so I chose this first career path where I was just choosing it just to choose it because I'm fresh out of high school. I was like, let me just pick a career. Yep. And my heart wasn't in it. And I was like, you know what am I going to do? And I actually went through a year where I was sad, I was depressed, I was unfulfilled, and I was just not happy. And then randomly, someone one day showed me how to build a home-based business. And that was my first mentor. That was the first leader that showed up in my life that was pointing me in the right direction. And the rest is history. I made a decision from that day. I was like, you know what? I'm going to learn how to become an entrepreneur. I'm going to learn how to build a home-based business. And I'm going to take advice and learn from people who have the results that I want. And that was 7 years ago. And so made a decision to change my career. And here I am today.
Yeah, it's fascinating how many people don't know what they want to do in their career. They don't even know what career they want to do. And then you've gone from that. But then when you found something and how that clicked, and what was that transformation like for you going from, I'm not sure what I want to do, to finding it? What was that whole transformation like for you?
It was very emotional because prior I was unfulfilled. I actually felt like depressed. Like I couldn't really see my future. I didn't even want to go to work. Every single day I would wake up, I was like, I do not want to do this. And I was like, this is what life is about. And then when I was introduced to entrepreneurship, it felt liberating. It felt like freedom. I felt like a brand new person. It felt like being born again. I was like, wow, this is what life is supposed to feel like. And I was like, no matter how hard this is or how long it's going to take to actually become successful in this new career path, I'm going to do it because it feels right. And so I was really just going with my gut feeling at the time. I knew in my gut that the first career choice I chose was not a fit. And the second career choice into entrepreneurship was a fit. And I was like, I'm just going to trust my gut, take a leap of faith, and see what happens.
Yeah. And so, listeners, what Ryan's sharing is so great. And it's actually taking a leap of faith. And I think that for a lot of us, we procrastinate, Ryan, whereby people sit back and they don't make decisions. And even if somebody's in a leadership role, entrepreneur, doesn't matter what it is, they don't make decisions. They procrastinate about things and because they don't trust that leap of faith. What would you be your thoughts about people taking a step or a leap of faith? What do you think they should do?
This is such a great question because when it comes to my leadership and me coaching people, I share a quote that I live my life by. And this quote is risk going for the life you want or guarantee living a life you don't want. And that has helped me so much over the years because if you don't risk going for change in your life, going for a life that you won't want, you're just going to be stuck living a life that you're already living. If you don't change anything, nothing's going to change in your life. That's what encouraged me at the beginning. And now that's what encouraged others. I was like, risk going for change. Life is so short. We're already so many years into life. We might as well live the best life we possibly can, you know?
Risk going for change is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, risk going for change or guarantee living a life you don't want.
Yeah, that is so powerful, team. Yes, I see so many people, and then they actually, what's quite funny is they actually will make excuses or they'll reason with themselves why it's okay to have that guaranteed. And now, look, there are some people who love what they're doing and they're doing it day in and day out. Great, good on them. But there are so many people that you and I know, Ryan, that don't move on in life, don't do anything in life. They just stay where they are, and which is really interesting. So tell me something. How did you get into leadership?
So when I first got into entrepreneurship, and I mentioned that first leader showed up in my life. And so there was someone in my life that showed up by example and was literally teaching me how to become an entrepreneur, teaching me how to build a home-based business, showing me the books to read, the seminars to go to, the mindset to develop. That was the biggest thing, is he was teaching me how to think differently. And what ended up happening is after I was just under this gentleman's mentorship for a few months and a few years, is I ended up becoming different. I started thinking different. All my behaviors started to become different. My habits started becoming different. The biggest thing I realized is when it comes to leadership, the first person I have to lead is myself. And that's what I wasn't doing previously in my life, is I was just kind of going with the flow of society. I was letting society lead me. That's what was happening. I was letting society lead me. I was letting the influence of family, friends lead me. And when that leader came into my life and I was like, hey, you can build a home-based business, you can become an entrepreneur, he was leading me. But what he did was he passed the torch. He let me know that I can lead myself. And that's where it all started. I was like, wow, it's up to me to take charge in my life. It's up to me to become the best version of myself. And that was the start of my leadership journey right there.
Yeah, Ryan, I think you could also flip the coin there based on what you're saying. That was up to you to take that. But he was passing the torch. So I think from a leader's perspective, it's our responsibility as well to really help develop others and give them the opportunity and show them the way as well, which I think is really important in them actually doing that. Ryan, now it could be the same person that you just mentioned. I'm not sure. I'm not going to preempt the answer. So who's your favorite leader? This person could be alive or from history. So who's your favorite leader and why?
Yeah, I would go from history for sure. I'm a believer. I read the Bible almost every single day. So I would say Jesus Christ. He started the Christian faith. And still to this day, 2,000 years later, there's over 2 billion believers on planet Earth who are following what he said 2 billion years ago. So that's my favorite leader. And the reason why is he was the perfect example of leading by example. That's what he did. He led by example, and still to this day, he has billions of followers following by example. And now they're leading by example. So same thing, he passed the torch.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Leadership is Changing with your host, Denis Gianoutsos. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change, inspiring executives and leaders to adapt and lead a bigger game in a fast-moving world.